What's up, y'all? BK back here with another paddle review, and in this one we're going to be reviewing a paddle that I believe might just change the game of pickleball in 2025. They've come up with some very innovative new technology, so without further ado, let's go ahead and review the brand new Holbrook ARMA. Let's do it. Just a disclosure, I have not been paid to put out this review and no review is guaranteed. These companies do send me the paddle for free and I do test them out, but all my reviews are unbiased and my personal opinion of the paddle. But if you do want to get your hands on the Holbrook ARMA at a discount, you can use the code BK15 at holbrookpickleball.com and get 15% off this paddle. So the Holbrook ARMA is a brand new paddle from Holbrook Pickleball, sponsors of Martin and Tammy Emmerich. This is a paddle that is very powerful and is something that I feel a lot of players are going to gravitate towards, especially players that play that banger style of pickleball and want a paddle with that upper echelon of power and pop. This paddle has some very interesting new core designs and some very interesting new technology built into this paddle. So we're going to talk about what this paddle does well, what it doesn't, who would suit, and why you should try and get your hands on the new Holbrook ARMA. So let's get into it. Now the Holbrook ARMA comes in a variety of shapes from Holbrook. We have the T, the X, and the S shape. The T is their elongated shape with that long handle, total length of 16.5 inches, whereas the X has a total length that is very similar to the T, but it does have a slightly shorter handle, so we have that hybrid shape in the X, and the S is more of that wide body square shape. So each of these shapes suit a particular type of player. So in this video, we are going to dive into which shape might be right for you, but before we do that, let's dive into what makes the Holbrook ARMA special. If you are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel below. It does help us support the channel a lot. You can subscribe right down here to BK Pickleball so we can continue putting out more great content for you. So the Holbrook ARMA has a dual density core. This is a brand new core that Holbrook has come out with where they have two different densities of cells inside the paddle. So what you're going to see is there is that little red outline in the graphic here on the face of this paddle. So that red outline shows you exactly where those smaller cells are. What you have is a large cell honeycomb in the main frame of the paddle. So the main core of the paddle has these big cells of that polypropylene honeycomb, but around the edges to the side and the top of the paddle, we have these nano cell honeycomb, which is very small cells in a larger density. So what that does is basically gives you a much better feel for the ball on those mishits towards the edges of the paddle. Whereas if you do hit that sweet spot, you have those large cell honeycomb that really allows you to get a lot of pop and power into the ball. So this is something very unique that we're seeing with the Holbrook that's going to make this paddle stand out in the market. And I would be very interested to see how this core structure holds up in the long term. But in the short term of my few weeks hitting with this paddle has performed extremely well in all situations. Now what they've done to bind the two cores together is they've added a layer of carbon fiber between the two core densities that's going to allow that paddle to bind together, and they also have a foam edge wall similar to that Gen 3 style of construction that goes all the way around the paddle. So this kind of allows this paddle to still have that little bit of propulsion to give you the extra pop and power, but those large cells also contribute a lot to that extra power that you feel when you hit that sweet spot of this paddle. Now diving into the pop and power of this paddle, this is where the Holbrook ARMA truly stands out. This paddle has exceptional pop and power and is definitely going to be one of the top power paddles of 2025 with how much you're able to generate with this paddle, but also how well it controls the power that you get from it.
My favorite parts of playing with this paddle was simply hitting serves. I have never felt this good hitting serves with any other paddle. I was able to get a lot of power on the ball, and also the shape that I got with the topspin allowed me to add that extra juice while still keeping the ball in the court. This is where this paddle performs extremely well. What you're gonna see is I think a lot of players are gonna gravitate towards this paddle, especially if they're looking for a singles paddle. This paddle is almost truly designed to master the singles game because you can get a lot of shape on the ball without losing power. So you can hit the ball extremely hard, but if you can get enough topspin on that ball, all these balls are gonna stay in. So what you're gonna get is, if you are someone that likes to hit big third shot drives, likes to speed up a lot from transition, wants to play a very heavy serve and heavy return style of game, especially for those singles players out there, this paddle is gonna perform extremely well. I would honestly put it even maybe above the Yola in terms of how well I was able to control the power in this paddle and hit big drives and big serves that I was honestly shocked. I didn't think I would feel this way about any paddle when it came to how much I love the Yola and playing with the Yola Magnus and the Perseus, but honestly, no joke, the Holbrook ARMA might have to be my go-to singles paddle right now. Now, there are a lot of paddles out there that generate a lot of power and pop, but what makes this paddle stand out is the ability to control that power with the added spin that you get from the Holbrook ARMA. So that's what we're gonna dive into next, is the spin of the paddle. Now, this paddle comes in with two different face materials. You can either get the carbon fiber face on this paddle, or you can get the metallic version, which is that faux titanium intertwined with carbon. So you have that metallic polymer intertwined with carbon on the face of the paddle. Now, these two face materials do play very differently, so watch the video to make sure you know which one is right for you. But for now, we're gonna be reviewing the spin of the carbon fiber face first. The carbon fiber face of the ARMA is exceptionally good when it comes to playing the spin game. I was able to hit my favorite shot, the backhand slice, better than I have in a very long time with any other paddle that I've tested. Maybe with the exception of the Proton Flamingo, this might be the next best paddle for that spin style of game. Because the paddle generated a lot of power, the added spin allowed me to really drive through the ball on the slice and also drive through the ball on the topspin, keeping it in the court every time without hitting too many balls out. So what you have with this paddle is a paddle that allows you to generate a lot of pace, but the spin allows you to keep the ball in the court. I was genuinely surprised by how many balls I was keeping in, given that when I first picked up the paddle, I could immediately feel the pop, and I really thought I was gonna hit a lot of balls out. But once I got used to the touch of the paddle, which only took a few hits, this paddle played extremely well in that power style of game, allowing me to hit big slices and big drives while keeping the ball in the court, and then put a lot of pressure on my opponent. If you are someone that likes to play a very banger style of pickleball, hitting big drives, a lot of slices, like to put heavy topspin on your dinks and resets, definitely go pick up a Holbrook ARMA. You will not be disappointed. Now, talking about the feel and touch of this paddle, again, I really thought this is where this paddle would struggle because of how much power I was able to generate off this paddle face. But what Holbrook have done is they've only come out with a 14mm version of this paddle, so that little bit of extra stiffness does give you a lot of control on softer shots. If you're able to consistently hit the ball in the sweet spot of the paddle, you're gonna get some very good control off your drops and your dinks. This paddle actually felt very effortless for me to drop with, which really took me by surprise because I thought I was gonna have a very hard time controlling the pop of the paddle. But again, that large cell honeycomb combined with that smaller cell honeycomb in the edge of the paddle really enhances that sweet spot and allows you to control the ball even if you hit off-center shots. This is something that I think the Holbrook ARMA is really gonna be a very popular paddle for a lot of players, especially those coming from tennis and other big time racket sports where people like to hit big drives. Racquetball, squash, and tennis players do have that big drive and banger style of pickleball. So this is going to be a paddle that's going to allow them to control the ball with ease, even when they're playing that heavy power style of game. Now, talking about the differences in the shapes of these paddles, as I mentioned, this paddle does come in 3 different shapes. You can either get the T, the X, or the S. The S is that wide body, which I think a lot of amateur players are going to gravitate towards, while the T is that fully elongated, long-handled paddle that I think a lot of pros, especially those coming from a tennis background, are going to gravitate towards. Personally, the X is my favorite shape of the Holbrook series because I don't use a big two-hander, and that little bit of a shorter handle while keeping the total length of the paddle gives me the best playability. But bad news is that the X doesn't come in that carbon fiber face as of yet because they're still working on certification and approval for that paddle. So if you do feel like the X is definitely the right shape for you, then you might want to wait it out. But I've been playing with the T shape and I have been able to adjust to it very well, even though I'm coming from a YOLO Magnus. This paddle is something that I was able to adjust to very quickly, even though the handle is much longer than I'm used to. So if you don't want to wait for the X and the approval process for that paddle, I would definitely recommend going towards the T rather than the S if you are someone that likes to play a very power style of game and you're someone that's coming from a tennis or badminton or other big time racket sport. But if you are someone that's just starting out in pickleball and have a very double style of game, you're not someone that likes to hit big drives and big speed ups at the kitchen, then you might want to check out the S, because the S to me has a much better sweet spot and it does a way better job of controlling the pickleball for your game. So personally, with my game style, I went with the T-shaped carbon fiber face. But again, based on your game style, I'll leave a full description of what game style would suit which shape best, so you can kind of make your own decision of which shape you want to pick up in this series. Now, the other big difference between these different paddles is that face material that we talked about earlier. This paddle does come in 2 different face materials, one with this carbon fiber face that I have in my hand right now, and 2, we have that metallic face, which is that metallic polymer intertwined with carbon fiber. So the differences between these 2 faces to me is pretty drastic. I would suggest that most amateurs that are 4-5 and under start out with the metallic face. The metallic face is going to give you a little bit more control, a little bit more dwell time, and have a little bit more of a plush feeling that's going to allow you to work on your mechanics while still being able to be confident in your game. Whereas if you do have the carbon fiber face, that paddle is more specifically designed for that 5-0 plus player that wants that enhanced power and enhanced spin. So that's a paddle that you're gonna go with. So anybody under that 4-5 marker that hasn't come from another racket sport background, definitely check out the metallic version. But if you are a 4-5 plus player and want that enhanced power and spin while sacrificing a little bit of that touch and control, go with the carbon fiber face. This is definitely my favorite of the lot, is the ARMA T carbon fiber. I would highly recommend it for anybody that's playing advanced pickleball or has a tennis background. Definitely go check them out. You will not be disappointed. Now, the price of these paddles, the carbon fiber face comes in at $260 and the metallic face comes in at $280, but you can use the code BK15 to save about $40, so 15% off on these paddles at holbrookpickleball.com. So you can go to holbrookpickleball.com, use the code BK15 and get these incredible paddles for 15% off. At that price point, I really do think these are exceptional value for money. This to me is one of my new favorite pro level paddles of 2025. I think Holbrook has done a fantastic job with these paddles. My only concern with these paddles is the durability. I am not sure how long these paddles are gonna last you because of that large cell combination with the nano cell and that carbon fiber bind between the 2 layers. It would be very interesting to see how long these paddles hold up. But brand new, out of the box, once you give it a little time to break in, which honestly didn't take me more than a couple of days, This paddle is exceptional. I am very impressed by what Holbrook Pickleball has done with these paddles. I can only imagine the amount of R&D that went into making a paddle like this, but they have absolutely nailed it. This is going to be one of the top power paddles of 2025. I'm putting it in right now. I do think this will be a paddle that wins a lot of awards come the end of the year when it's time to do our paddle awards. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe below to BK Pickleball. Also follow me at BK_Pickleball on Instagram. I put out a lot of instructionals and paddle reviews on both channels, so make sure to go check them out either on Instagram or YouTube. Comment below what other paddles you'd like to see me review. Like the video, share the video, do all the fun stuff. And until next time,